It seems like most things in life today are either things we should be doing or shouldn't be doing, not things we want to do or don't want to do. I mean, we drag ourselves to the gym multiple times a week because we feel like we should be in shape. We feel guilty for wanting to take an off day on the weekend because we feel like we should be doing something with our lives. We have things we need to do. We stare at job boards thinking, I hate my job and I should apply to a better job. You stare at a beautiful woman from across the room and you think, I want to talk to her, but I feel like I shouldn't. The way we treat what we want and what we don't want, or what we should and shouldn't be doing, is the same way a child avoids punishment from a parent. So often we'll do things in life not because we want it, or we see how it'll benefit our lives. We do it because we feel like we're supposed to, or we avoid it because we're afraid of condemnation from others. And this is why so many of us feel so unmotivated and resentful of all the things we actually have to do every day, and why we feel so guilty about the things we do actually want. It's so common to hear people talk about how they resent their work, not the fact that they resent their current job or they don't like their current job. It's the fact that they resent having to work at all. They resent the fact that they have to do something in order to continue to be alive. And what's at the root of this is that the whole of our lives feels like one big should. And that just leads to the resentment of everything. As kids, we learn, clean your room because your mom says so. Be sure to do your homework, otherwise your teacher will give you a bad grade. Be sure to go to college so you can get a degree. Be sure that you get a good job. A good job not in the eyes of you, of a job that you want, but a job that others will say, oh, that's a good job. In other words, a job that others approve of. Be sure you do all these things so that you can get a house, have a girlfriend, get a wife, have children, do all these things that you're supposed to be doing. You go from elementary, middle school, all the way up into college, and it seems like at no point are you ever given a moment to actually sit with yourself and realize what it is that you actually want out of life. You're put on a treadmill and shot through the system until you find yourself at probably your 20s, maybe even your 30s, and you realize, what the hell do I even want? What does it even mean to want something? The reason we feel this way is because the whole of our lives, our focus wasn't on our choices and our desires having a direct and meaningful consequence on our own personal lives, that causal connection being important, but rather on obeying what authority figures or peers around us expect of us, or on avoiding punishment from external authorities. Whether that's the expectation of our parents, the approval or admiration of women or friends, or the avoidance of condemnation from other people, not asking a woman out because we're so afraid of condemnation from everyone around us. What we have learned from birth is the idea that obedience is good, and that desire, what you want out of life, that is either bad or of no consequence. The fact that growing up as kids, what we wanted was things like playing video games, playing outside. But as we were growing up, all the meaningful, productive things we were doing, like all of school, was basically sit down, shut up, do what you're told, do what's expected of you, and you will be approved of. If you do anything that is out of the ordinary, something that you want, no, that's not approved of, that's going to be punished, that's going to be given a low grade, and all of this ultimately comes down to how we view morality. The West has been permeated with Christianity for about 2,000 years now. Our whole moral framework is deeply rooted in Christianity. Obey God, deny the self, desire is sinful. It's not pursue these things because they'll help you flourish and avoid these things because they're harmful to your life. It's obey or you'll be punished. Life is about denying yourself all the things that you do want, all the things that will bring you pleasure and happiness, and instead making yourself do these things that you should be doing. And even if most of us don't get this framework taught to us directly, even if we're raised in an atheistic family, this framework is still embedded in the whole of how we think about things. If you just think about the framework of school, sit down, do what you're told, obey, and if you do anything that you want to do, if you actually study a subject you want to study, if you want to work on a project that's yours, that's irrelevant. Do what you're supposed to be doing. Do the work that you're given, or you will be punished. It might not be overt or in your face. Maybe no one's yelling at you or, slapping your wrist with a ruler, but at the end of the day, that's exactly what's happening. And the psychological training of this is the result of all of this, is just the feeling that what is good is what other people will approve of, what other people will see as valuable or as expected. Usually when people talk out against meaningless sex, they don't frame it in terms of you're devaluing sex for yourself. They'll say other people will see you as a slut, or, God said so. This whole framework that we live in today, this whole moral framework, completely divorces morality from reality. It's not about the consequences of your choices and your actions on your life. Like you making a choice and taking a certain course of action, having an effect on you, has nothing to do whatsoever about what we think of as good or bad. And in fact, you can actually see a huge part of the modern culture wars, however you want to frame it, left versus right, the moderns versus the traditional views. That whole landscape is really dominated by this framework, this idea that the good comes from an authority. And you can hear from the modern types, or the left, however you want to frame them, that if there is no ultimate authority, then there is no authority to punish us for what we do. There is no such thing as good or bad, which is the basis of their whole argument that everything is subjective. There is no right or wrong, ultimately. It's all a matter of perspective. If you want to be, horrifically obese, then it's fine. There's no consequences at all. Health is just a social concept. If you want to sleep around, then go for it, do whatever the fuck you want. The only consequence is, of course, other people being jerks about it. That's where their whole focus is on other people not condemning them for it. But see, the thing is they're still stuck in that framework of other people validating or approving of or punishing what it is that they do. And of course, in reality, there are consequences to your actions. And we've been seeing that with loads and loads of these activists, these fat activists who went out and got horribly fat and then died in a matter of months or something. What a shock. Or these poor delusional women who will go out and let themselves be laid by 1,000 guys in a day and then be surprised when their lives are miserable. But the whole argument coming from that side is the idea that if there is no external judgment, then there is no consequence to their actions. But as we've seen, there absolutely are consequences. And the consequences are the effects our choices and actions have on our own lives. And it's that is the moral mindset shift that separates adults from children. We hear all the time that people aren't being responsible for themselves today, which is true. But no one really gets to the essence of what that really means. And what it means to be responsible for yourself is to let go of that fear of an authority and instead respect reality. It's a boy who is worried about what his parents are going to do when they find out what he's done, but it's a man who will stand by what he's done because he was aware of the consequences of his actions when he was taking them, and he stands by them once he's made them. The difference is being concerned with what other people think, with seeing other people's judgments as the authority over him, versus reality being the ultimate authority over you. What adult motivation looks like is, I work out because it affects my energy, mood, health, and how I feel about myself. I don't eat junk because it affects my body and confidence. I pursue relationships because they enrich my life. The bottom line is, my values are determined by what improves my life, and I avoid that which doesn't. A child's motivation is, I should do this because it's expected of me, because I'll be punished if I don't, because I'll disappoint someone if I don't. And when we function like this, we end up resenting everything that it is that we do because we don't feel like we're doing it for us. We don't feel like we're doing it because we want to. We feel like we're doing it because we are told to do it, even if no one directly told us to. We just feel this omnipresent should hanging over us all the time. And this leads to loads of bad psychological traps. When your motivation is external, you oftentimes act like a naughty little boy trying to get away with whatever it is that he can. You secretly rebel against your employer by slacking off when he's not looking, or stealing supplies, or lying on your timesheet. You hide your behaviors you're ashamed of, or lie about them, feeling like if nobody else knows about them, then it's fine. And oftentimes we can end up feeling like the actions that are actually ours, the decisions that are ours, are the non-productive or even destructive decisions. Like when we stay home and play video games all day, we feel like, finally, I can do something that I actually want. But then you feel guilty and ashamed about it because you feel like, well, geez, I just wasted a whole day goofing off when I should have been doing other things, productive things. What you need is a mindset shift. So the next time you find yourself sad that you can't do something, or regretting that you have to do something, really get clear with yourself and ask yourself, are you doing this or avoiding it because of the long-term effects it will have on your life, or because of some external pressure, whether it's someone's approval that you want to win or someone's condemnation you want to avoid? So ask yourself, what effect does this have on my life? Does this make my future bigger or smaller? Do I want what this will lead to? Something I did in my own life is that I started to change I have to I want to. So, normally you'd say something like, I have to go to the store, but I started to say, I want to go to the store. And simply reframing simple phrases like that really changed the way I would approach doing these things. Instead of being like, oh God, I have to go to the store and get these things. Instead, I was thinking, oh, I want to go to the store to get these certain items in order to create, make the meal that I want to have later this week. It instead changed how I felt about doing something that was necessary in order to stay alive, buy food. And it switched it from feeling like, oh God, I have to do this, what a burden, to, oh, now I get to have this really interesting meal I was looking forward to having. It's a subtle way of putting the emphasis rather on, I feel like I have to do this, versus this is something I want to do because this is my life, and every little moment like this is a choice that I have. I could choose to not go to the store, but the consequence would be I wouldn't have that food and I wouldn't have that meal, and instead, later tonight or later this week, I'd have to order out or scramble to get some kind of meal put together by running to the store last minute, which I don't want to do that. I want to plan ahead and have food in the fridge now. That simple reframing was to put the emphasis on the fact that this was my choice that I was making for a reason. I was not being forced into this. And that made my resentment of it go away. There's actually a pretty interesting philosophic dichotomy there between, need, want, have to, ought to. That's kind of beyond the scope of this video, but every have to implies that it's for something that you actually want down the road. And simply reframing that will remind you of that fact and put it at the forefront. What should be at the forefront of your mind is, I want to pursue this thing, whether that's a meal later this week or the dream job. So the next time you find yourself feeling guilty about relaxing, or resenting having to work, or bitter about self-improvement, try asking yourself, am I doing this because I fear judgment, or because I see the positive effect on my life? If the answer is external pressure, then stop and reevaluate what it is that you're doing. Re-own that purpose. Put it in terms of what it is that you actually want to be doing here. Or don't do it if it's something that ultimately isn't going to benefit you. Now, if you have appreciated what I've had to say in this video concerning the moral landscape of today and the two dominant arguments going on right now, and you want to check out more, then you should check out this book right here called Philosophy Who Needs It by Ayn Rand. And it will definitely open your eyes to new alternatives that are out there. Because right now there really aren't very many philosophic opportunities or philosophic options that are in front of us, even though it might seem like there are. It's mostly all the same. And if you want something actually different, you should check out this book. I'll have a link in the description below. Because the thing is, the whole point of this philosophy is to get you focused on your life and living your life and flourishing. It's a very classical philosophy in a way. It's very similar to our boy Aristotle. If you want to be a bad dog, you can get yourself this guy and start reading him. But he's pretty advanced. This is very easy read. It's a good book. It will introduce you to what philosophy is and how to think about it, how to think about your life, and really open your eyes to a new way of thinking about what is right and wrong. Like, how do you even address that question? You know, it'll change how you think about that thing. Anyway, if you found this video interesting and you want to see more like it, check out that subscribe button. Give the video a like, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.